Welcome to another episode of Bare Truth with Danny Shimon reviewing tape and me just tagging along and learning more about the game of football. Danny, how are you, my man?
I'm doing great. My Sox took it on the chin this afternoon, so it was a tough start. But now I'm back to my element here, talking football, breaking down tape. Got some great news this week about our Justin Fields being the permanent starter now. So let's I'm excited. I'm ready to rock and roll.
And that is the topic of the night, Justin Fields. Danny approached me early in the week and said, what do you think about dedicating the entire show to reviewing tape of Justin Fields and evaluating what he did right and what he did wrong? And I said, bingo, that is a great idea. Let's start our discussion, Danny, by talking about the move. It was totally unexpected by many people that Justin Fields was going to be named the permanent starter. There was a lot of speculation he was probably going to start against the Raiders, but the permanent starter for the rest of the season, that was new news. And so what do you think happened at Halas Hall, Danny Shimon?
Well, unconfirmed. This is my opinion. I think someone got to Matt Nagy. Now, I don't know who that someone is, if it's Ryan Pace, or if it's someone higher than Ryan Pace, but Matt Nagy on Monday came out and said that if Andy Dalton is healthy, that Dalton's is a starter and Fields is number 2 and then Nick Foles is number 3. And then all of a sudden on Wednesday, he comes out and announces that Fields now is his permanent starter. And he had told Fields on Tuesday night that he was going to be starting. So it's something just doesn't jive there. Now again, Matt Nagy, the way he's handled this, I mean, his press conferences have been some of the most uncomfortable press conferences I have seen since Mark Trestman. That's why I tweeted out earlier this week. I'm like, this is 2021 Mark Trestman all over again. I mean, there's just that cringy, uncomfortable feeling. A guy squirming in his seat. You know he's got like a big butt stain on his wet butt stain on his seat because he's sweating through his underwear. It's like one of those press conferences again, and it's just I felt bad for the guy because he's not telling the truth.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden he comes out and just, forget it. We're just gonna go ahead and do this. So I'm encouraged by this past week's game against the Lions was very encouraging for me in terms of watching the tape, watching the play calling. We talked about a little bit earlier that it wasn't so much that they've designed all these new plays for Justin Fields, specifically for Fields. I mean, they're still the same plays we see them run with Dalton, we see them run with Trubisky and so on and so forth. But the way the game flowed, the way the play calling flowed, the protection, the extra man in there, the tight ends, the 21 personnel, the 11 personnel. Very rarely that I see any 5-man blocking schemes where just only 5 offensive linemen trying to block 6 defenders. We didn't see that kind of stuff. He made it simple for me. He broke it down. There were 2-man route concepts, 3-man route concepts. So I like the way he called the play. He kind of eased Fields into this game this against the Lions.
I got a theory regarding this whole who made the decision and so forth. I really believe that there was a power struggle going on at Halas Hall and that Bill Lazor is in the middle of it. Here's my scenario. So you've got a general manager who knows he needs results. He needs something to maintain his job. I mean, officially, this is the last year of his contract. Now, there's speculation that he has signed an extension and they're keeping that secret, but whatever. Ryan Pace knows he needs to prove that the players that he has put on this roster can win games and can perform. Now, unfortunately for him, the head coach he hired, Matt Nagy, can't get the most out of that offense and those players on that offense because of his stubborn ways of coaching. Enter Bill Lazor, who has publicly said Justin Fields is ready. He was ready at the end of training camp, who has publicly said, I don't make those decisions about play calling, who has now publicly thrown the head coach under the bus multiple times. And when they've had over the last 2 weeks, these Tuesday meetings and multiple meetings where they're talking about what went wrong and so forth, and then you see Matt Nagy squirming in these press conferences, that tells me that Bill Lazor and Ryan Pace are saying, yeah, I don't think about this guy really knows what he's doing when it comes to play calling. I think, Bill, you better take over. What do you think about my theory?
Well, I mean, that's if that's true, and then I don't know why Matt Nagy still has a job, to be honest with you, because if you're Ryan Pace and you are going to be listening to an offensive coordinator over your head coach, then just go ahead and fire your head coach and make Bill Lazor your interim head coach and see what happens, because that to me right now is he's breaking rank, right? If Lazor, if your theory is true, Lazor is going to Pace and saying, hey, I can get the most out of this offense and this kid and develop him quickly for you. And if that happens, that's breaking rank, and that, really, Matt Nagy, if that catches wind of it, he should have either quit himself or fired Lazor, or something should have happened. So it's a little interesting that you came up with that theory. I just think that Brad Biggs reported that they had a big team meeting. Matt Nagy brought in all the offensive players and offensive coaches and said, guys, what do you guys want to run? What do you guys want to play here? And I think maybe in that meeting, what they came back with, the feedback was, hey, we have to run plays where we protect better. We need some help on to chip with tight ends and running backs and give our quarterback some time. And maybe someone just said, hey, I think Fields gives us a better opportunity to win. That could have happened as well. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not sure Matt Nagy made this decision on his own. I told you, I think he's forced, whether it's, the Ryan Pace or your theory from, with Ryan Pace, or maybe the players, something happened where, he's like, forget it. Throw my hands up. Let's go with Justin Fields and see what happens. And we'll let Bill Lazor hopefully call the plays.
I wish I would have pulled this clip, because everybody is talking about Sunday's press conference and how he was very defensive and me. I have a role and, I'm the head coach. Everything goes through me. But I think what was even more interesting, and that was fascinating in itself, it was like a guy who is like walking down death row and asking for
me, that was like him peeing on the spot, like, saying, hey, this is, I'm still the, head coach here. Everything goes through my spot, it goes through me here, but go ahead.
But the key to me was even more interesting was when he was asked, this has been a tough week for you, coach. And, what has this been like personally for you? And he went into one of his long, speeches about, who your friends are during trying times, who the players are, the coaches and other people are that you can trust. And he kept making these facial expressions like, that's part of the job, it's part of the business and so forth. But to me, that says to me that there are some people within the ranks who have said, who have been really blunt, not just saying, hey, maybe you should try this. They have been really blunt and said, dude, you're fucking the whole thing up, And so he thought that he had certain guys in his corner, but those guys really aren't in his corner because he doesn't deserve anybody in his corner given the results of his offense.
Right.
And every Mitchell Trubisky defender, including Mike North, who for 40 minutes out of his 60-minute show was defending Mitch Trubisky today based on the evidence so far submitted, every Mitch Trubisky defender has reason to believe that Matt Nagy didn't help the guy.
I mean, he would help. Did he help him? Probably not. But I still think Mitch is where he's supposed to be as a backup quarterback in the NFL, because remember, no other team came and offered him an opportunity to even compete for a starting job, guys. If an NFL team thought he had talent to come in and be a starting NFL quarterback, they would have brought him in. There was competition in Jacksonville, until they drafted Trevor Lawrence. There was competition in Denver. Vic Fangio had him here with the Bears. Do you think he would bring him in and see if he can compete for a starting job if he thought he was an NFL starting quarterback? But
let me make one quick point regarding that. I apologize for interrupting you, but somebody in the chat room, when I mentioned that same thing on the Mike North event, somebody in the chat room said, and I apologize, my memory sucks. So they pointed out what is a fair point is that there were a lot of teams in need of a quarterback, but couldn't because of salary cap things. So that maybe teams like the Detroit Lions and Minnesota Vikings, just to pick two off the top of my head, would have been interested in Mitchell Trubisky, but couldn't fit him in because of the amount of money they were dedicating already to the quarterback position. So
correct me if I'm wrong. He didn't get a big contract. He got a 1 year, like $1 million contract. So I mean, those are like
$3 million, I think.
$3 million. So that's average for NFL veteran backup quarterback. So I think that's what you usually pay for a backup quarterback. So I think you could have made things, especially with bonuses and all that stuff, where you could have made it roster bonuses, workout bonuses, everything. These guys would have, found a way to get them on their roster and compete. Especially, the Broncos ended up going and trading for Teddy Bridgewater, who's already been on his third or fourth team already. We know what he is. He's a quality backup quarterback. But it's teams like this. could have brought in Mitch if they wanted him to compete. But we'll move on past that. Did Matt Nagy help Mitch Trubisky get better? No, he did not. He did not. But Trubisky had limitations, and we saw some of that with, at the end of last year with the Bill Lazor offense, where he was, making plays out of the pocket, but making plays downfield is where he struggled, reading coverages, reading defenses where he continued to struggle. And we saw a lot of that towards, the game against the Green Bay, and especially in that playoff game versus the Saints.
Now, this show is about evidence. It's about looking at the tape and discovering what went wrong, what went right, and so forth. But I got a couple of philosophical questions for you because I'm dying to hear your opinion on this. For instance, number one, do the Bears beat the Detroit Lions on Sunday if Andy Dalton is the starting quarterback? And as an addendum to that question, do the Bears have a better chance of having a winning record at the end of the season if Andy Dalton were to start the rest of the season?
Yes and no. Detroit is so bad that Andy Dalton could have started, and then the Bears' run game was so effective. The Bears' defensive pass rush was getting and bothering Jared Goff, at least in the first 3 quarters of the game, where I think the Bears would ended up winning that game, whether Dalton was starting or not. Would Andy Dalton give him a better chance to go ahead and win? I don't think so, because of the limitations of this offensive line, because of the physical limitations of Andy Dalton. I think that he would have been a handicap, if you will, for the offense in the quarterback position. Now, what he gives them mentally in terms of being able to read coverages, knowing the offense, so on and so forth, being a veteran of the league, he would be at disadvantage with Justin Fields because of the athletic ability. We saw there's a play here I'm going to highlight where Fields was able to escape a dead rusher right at him, spin away from him, and continue to look downfield. Try to make a play to Kmet where he just literally fell, on his own. But that's the kind of playmaking ability he gives you. That's the kind of option he gives you. Now, we talked about earlier, this was just a stepping stone in terms of the offensive, the game plan, if you will. Now you can build on this. Now you can add some RPOs in here. Now, if you continue with a strong running attack, you can continue to do some more play action. And I think that, along with Justin Fields' ability to get downfield in terms of his accuracy downfield, I think that's where it's going to give the Bears a leg up in terms of moving on for the rest of the season.
I think you make a great point there. And what was the statistic that you told me prior to the show? And I think that you put it out there, perhaps on social media, about the air yards on.
Justin Fields averaged 12.9 air yards per pass attempt versus the Lions. That's the highest a Bears quarterback has averaged since 2016. So that tells you that that's been a while since a Bears quarterback averaged about almost 13 yards a throw with his, air yards with his throws downfield. So again, this kid came out and showed what we saw at Ohio State. We showed his ability to get the ball downfield accurately. And I've said from day one, and you and I have talked about it, I thought he should have been the starter, not because he was ready to go and he was fully developed and all that stuff. I still think there's things he's going to have to learn. We'll point some things out on tape here that I saw that learning, teaching moments for him. But it's the fact that I would give him the Russell Wilson plan. When Russell Wilson came in with the Seahawks, what did they do? They had a strong rushing attack. They had a very good defense, and they asked Wilson to make plays with his feet once in a while in the game to continue drives, get some first downs, and then make some throws here and there, and continue to improve his his overall ability as a passer in the league. And I think that's what the game plan should be here with Justin Fields. Utilize the rushing attack like we did this past weekend. Continue to utilize Fields' athletic ability, be able to get out of the pocket, make some plays with his feet, and then utilize some of that accuracy, the downfield accuracy that we saw with Fields, that we saw with him at Ohio State, we saw with him here this past week is his pinpoint accuracy, his ball placement downfield. These are the things you can take advantage of. The Bears talked about bringing in speedy receivers, but yet we never see them stretch the field until this past week where we saw 5 passes of 20+ yards down the field. So, this is where he can come in and just incrementally get better and better and better. And now you have a fully developed quarterback towards the tail end of the season.
Interesting question here from Hector. He says, so what if Trubisky had limitations? What about Trent Dilfer? I got a response to that, but then you're the star of the show. You respond to that one.
What about Trent Dilfer? Trent Dilfer was, because he won a Super Bowl leading the Ravens, who had one of maybe the greatest defenses of all time, and a terrific running attack behind him in Jamal Lewis. I'm not sure what Trent Dilfer does here. I mean, other than being pretty much a career backup. I mean, other than one season, he didn't do much in the league. So the thing about
Danny, if I can interrupt just a second, that's the key. One season of success for Trent Dilfer, as opposed to a quarterback like Russell Wilson that you just mentioned, other quarterbacks who have had sustained success. And Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl, has a Super Bowl ring, just like Joe Flacco has a Super Bowl ring, not because they were star quarterbacks, but because they were serviceable. And that usually lasts just 1 year, because defenses, it's very difficult to have prolonged success for a defense. The 2018 Chicago Bears are a perfect example of that. That team did not sustain, the defense did not sustain the success in 2019, in 2020. So that's why I literally cried when the Bears blew that opportunity in 2018, because I knew that was a prime time opportunity to win a Super Bowl, because you had a defense that was a once in a generation or once every few years or whatever type of defense that can get you to a Super Bowl.
Right. The other thing was 2001 when the Ravens won the Super Bowl. I mean, that was a different type of offense. I mean, NFL was different back then. The offensive now have exploded. I mean, they've brought in the spread formations, and they're spreading these guys out now defensively. You got to score points. Points is the name of the game now in the NFL. It helps if you have a good defense that can put pressure on the quarterback and get some turnovers here and there. But generally speaking, the defenses are not really going to win you a championship by themselves, right? They're a key component to a good team, but you got to score points, guys. When did the Buccaneers take off last year? Yeah, their defense got more and more stout towards the end of the year, but it's when Tom Brady and the brain trust there, Bruce Arians and Leftwich, they started kind of constructing the offense around what Brady does best, and they started putting up points on the board as well. So that kind of goes hand in hand. You can't just win a championship nowadays in this NFL with just stout defense. And the Bears do not have a stout defense. They have a pretty good defense, but it's not a stout championship caliber just defense by itself. So you need an offense that's going to help them be able to support and get some points, put some points on the board.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I am really, really impressed with the amount of sacks and quarterback pressures they're getting this year. But because of the defensive backfield is still, to me, it's like the team's Achilles heel. It's going to get picked apart by really good quarterbacks.
And we were going into this season worried about the corners. But it's the safeties that are letting me down. I mean, I think the corners are playing well. Jalen Johnson and Kendall Vilder. Now, the nickel cornerback is still a position that it's up for grabs there. Duke Shelley's, he's got some issues there as well. But the safeties for me, I think there was another a communication breakdown this week with Deion Bush. He's filling in for Tajon Gibson there. He bid in. He was supposed to kind of drop back and he let the guy go by him. That was that first touchdown, that Khalif Raymond touchdown, wide open, uncontested. So the safeties for me I have been more of a letdown than the corners. I think the corners are showing some promise and some playmaking ability, with Jalen Johnson developing, like we talked about before, into a potential number one cornerback. And Kendall Vilder, our guy that you and I saw at the Senior Bowl for the first time, he's been playing well. If you don't hear a corner's name on Sundays, that means they're doing a good job, because they're not getting picked on. And typically when you watch the Bears, it's either the safety blown coverages or it's a nickelback, whether it's Duke Shelley or Marquis Christian getting torched in the secondary. So that's the downfall there as well. So hopefully with Gibson coming back in there, I think he was a full participant in practice throughout the week this week. So maybe he'll get back in there. Maybe hopefully that'll help solidify that safety position a little bit. And then we can continue on and improve now with the pass rush. Again, last week, 4 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, 4 passes defense, 6 quarterback hits, continuing to get, moving the quarterback off his spot. Jared Goff was just never comfortable in the pocket, really. And then, Khalil Mack, Robert Quinn, again, had a terrific game. Bilal Nicholson inside. Eddie Goldman came back. The rush defense early on was a little disconcerting for me, because they were getting run up the middle by Jamal Williams. But you look at the stats at the end of the game, the Lions only had about 90 yards rushing. That might have been because they were playing from behind. They kind of gave up on the rushing attack a little bit too early. But that's something that I'm going to keep my eye on in the next couple of weeks, because, Goldman coming back for the first time in 3 weeks. Maybe, expect them a little bit not to be in football shape. As the weeks come up, these games come up, I want to see how that, run game solidifies. Again, Akeem Hicks leaving after a play or two this past Sunday. That doesn't help the run defense either. That's a guy, I know he's 30 some years old right now, but he's a guy that when he's out of the lineup, Akeem Hicks, his presence is missed.
Yes.
It's felt. And I just don't know how the Bears are going to be able to let this guy go in terms of not re-signing him after the season.
Yeah, but if he's not the same player that he was, then you got to let him go. Why pay him money?
Not, but he's still effective. Although he's still effective, and you saw that when he's out of that game, the run defense isn't the same. He might not be the pass rusher, the sack guy that he might get 8 or 9 sacks like he had before, but he's a guy that when he's in there, his presence is felt, and I just don't think. That they can afford to let him go. I think right now they just don't have anybody that can come in there and just be like a capable replacement, full-time replacement for him.
Last philosophical question, and I'm going to actually give it to Nick Farrell. He has sparked a really good conversation in the chat room as people are listening to us. Nick says, defense winning championships is a myth. If they did, the Bears would have more than one Super Bowl because the Bears are known for always having a great defense. If I can, I'd like to respond to that first and then have you, Danny, chime in. I believe that a defense playing at its peak in the playoffs is what wins you championships. Offenses will get you into the playoffs, but it's a defense that is playing at its peak, that is peaking at the right time during the playoffs, is almost guaranteed to win a championship if you have at least a Trent Dilfer, Joe Flacco type of offense. What do you think, brother?
Well, see, back in the, maybe in the 85s, we talking about the Bears defense, the Ravens, you could have probably got away with that. You could probably got away with an offense that could average about, 17, 20 points a game. Yeah. But in today's NFL, I think you need both. I think you need a offense that could put up points. And then I think you can need a defense once they have a lead that could pin their ears back and go after the quarterback and put pressure on the opposing quarterback, because let's face it, they're all passing. Everyone's passing nowadays. There are some teams that have good sound running attacks, but the majority of their teams are passing the football. So, if you cannot pass rush and get to the quarterback, you're not going to be able to have an effective defense, I feel like. So again, when can you pass rush the best is when you have a lead, you pin your ears back, you let your bull rushers go up there and just go pin and get the opposing quarterback. So I think they go hand in hand. Now, for your example, last year's Tampa Bay Buccaneers is a perfect example. The defense kind of gelled and got better and stronger towards the end of the year. By the time the playoffs came, they were one of the better units in the NFL. And then, but they had a pretty good offense too to help them get there as well. So that defense alone with no offense, they couldn't have won the Super Bowl, because look at the teams they went up against, right? The Chiefs and the Packers and all that stuff. They had to score some points on the board as well. So that's where I think they go hand in hand in today's NFL. You can't win a championship with just a defensive team, or you can't win a championship with just an offensive team. You're gonna have both, at least middle of the pack or better on both sides of the ball, in my opinion.
4,000 Clovers, great point you make there. And Stephen Me, hey, how are you, brother? I hope things are well. Bruce Ollie Walter Jordan says Super Bowl teams have a top 10 D and a top 10 offense.
Gotta go hand in hand.
I got to tell you, I am having a blast talking football with you. And I want everybody to know that in order for me to continue doing my job, I need you to go over to deepdishtees.com/barroom and buy a barroom hat, buy a barroom t-shirt, buy a draft on tap hat or t-shirt, buy whatever you want.
Logo.
Yeah, there you go. Man, what a great logo. Who came up with that logo? Oh, I think I did.
I believe it was you.
And do whatever you can to help us out here at the Barroom Network and get my wife off my back and saying, when are you going to make those $1 million you said you were going to make with this Barroom Network? I said, honey, it's a long-term investment. Don't worry about it. All right, Danny. It is time. Sir. It is time to pour over the tape. The first tape you picked was, by the way, I want to let everybody know that what I did with the replays or the tape that Danny is going to analyze is I put the broadcast copy first, and then I put an all 22 version for his analysis. So we're going to start with this play there.
Right. So the first thing, hold it right there. So the first thing I wanted to talk about with what I noticed, what Bill Lazor did, and something that it looks that Justin Fields is comfortable with, is you see a lot of times that Justin Fields under center and a lot of play action. And we've talked about play action being a staple in a lot of the offenses today, right? The Rams offense is play action. The 49ers offense is play action is a staple there. The threat of a play action play really does a good job of sucking up that second level of the defense and opening a lot of these crossing routes, giving a lot of green grass area. And what Lazor did is he did a lot of, under center, field under center, play action, and Fields looks comfortable, guys, being able to turn his back, for 1 or 2 seconds there to the defense, and then turn around and just then analyze what's going on in front of him and make a throw. Here, if it's a better throw, actually, it's probably a touchdown for Darnell Mooney. That's a great catch by Darnell Mooney. But look here, as the play action, as the play starts, play action sucks up the defense. Look at all that green grass there. Actually, I think he had a chance here to hit A-Rob running down the field there, wide open at the 20, streaking by the corner as well. So that could have been a touchdown there as well. But nice job of leading the receiver away, throwing him away from coverage. Now a better throw, probably at the touchdown. But again, it's a concept of being able to drop back, fake the handoff, go back and see what's happening in front of you, and then be able to throw a nice ball and hit your receiver in stride is what this is one of the first of the 5, 20+ yard plays that Fields had this past Sunday.
Danny, one of the things that impresses me about quarterbacks or that I look at, and when I see a quarterback have excellent footwork, it's a turn on to me. And his footwork here, doesn't it look like he's dancing, like he's a famous dancer? Isn't this cool?
And because the kid is always cool, calm, and collective. That's one of the things I told you in my scouting reports, but this kid's demeanor is always calm. He could be up by 15 points, he could be down by 15 points. You never see him. He could have thrown 3 touchdowns in a game. He could throw 3 picks in a game. He doesn't get rattled. And I think that translates to his motion, is his footwork in the pocket. He's always calm. He doesn't really, doesn't get happy feet or anything like that. There are times he can get rushed, and that's different than having happy feet. Rush meaning not be able to set quickly and just kind of, rush your motion, get the ball out quickly before he gets sacked. That's different than happy feet. But yeah, he's got a nice, quick, clean motion, nice, clean release there. Throws a perfect ball again, just a little bit better thrown ball there. It's probably a touchdown. But again, these are things that I'm talking about: timing, rhythm, passing, that over time I'm expecting him to get better. Next time they run this play and Mooney's this open, I expect him to hit him in stride, and Mooney's going to be catching it in stride and hitting up field, streaking up field for a touchdown possibly. So that's something that right away, that was in the first quarter. 10:59 in the first quarter. So that kind of got him loose there and got him going, got his confidence going there, got the crowd going as well. So that was a big play. And I think that was the first of the 5, like I said, 20+ yard plays downfield that Fields had.
Hey, I got to tell you, you just brought up the crowd, and this show is about uncovering, what were some of the big things in the game. I got to hand it to the Chicago Bears crowd, which I have been very critical of over the years. I mean, years and years of rich cat fans who have paid, so much for these tickets and so forth, just sitting on their hands. And like if they're watching it in opera, these fans were so integral into rattling Jared Goff. He can't play against the Chicago Bears at Soldier Field when the fans are going crazy like they were. But that's a topic for another day. But I just want to point that out. The fans did a great job, and hopefully they'll continue to do that. And it's all a result of Justin Fields. They were fired up because of Fields.
Right. Exactly.
So
that's what you want to see. You want to see, and not only the fans, but the team, his teammates are fired up because they know that he gives them a different type of cat back there, and it's a different kind of animal back there, and the way what he could do in terms of his movement skills, his accuracy downfield, and we'll get into some more of these clips here. But it just it gives him towards the end of the game. I was telling you, like, I wish I could have captured on some of these clips where the defensive players were dabbing him up. Defensive players were joking and smiling with him because they wanted him in there, and leading the team. So that's a key thing for me, especially for leadership.
Yep, indeed. All right, this is the 64-yard pass play to Mooney, and again, we start with the broadcast copy.
So the first thing I liked when we'll slow down the next copy was max protection, right? He had both tight ends here set at the line of scrimmage. He doesn't have the 5 blockers. So Fields knows he's got time. Or if the Lions bring an extra guy, I think it's a 2nd and 9. Maybe the Lions are going to blitz here. Maybe they're trying to pin them back even deeper into their own territory to play that field position game. But you know what? They didn't blitz. So then what happens is once they don't blitz, the tight ends go ahead and release out in the flat. That looks like there was a miscommunication error with the Lions secondary. The corner expected the safety to go ahead and get back there and carry Mooney. He doesn't. Mooney gets past him. And guys, How many times last year did we see Darnell Mooney streaking downfield wide open, and either Trubisky or Foles would either overthrow him or underthrow him? We finally got a quarterback that can hit Darnell Mooney in stride downfield. And that right there, when I saw that, that pumped me up big time. I got on my chair. I'm like, all right, we finally got a quarterback that can hit Darnell Mooney in stride downfield. And that's one of the reasons here. But first of all, the play design, basic 2-man route, but the fact that you got max protection in there, you got the back in there, you got the tight ends in there if they need it, if they're bringing extra defenders. I like that. That gives Justin Fields a peace of mind knowing that he's not going to get bulldozer, or killed by a blitzing off the edge linebacker. So that gives them an opportunity. Obviously, the defensive breakdown by the Lions helped big time there. But again, just the accuracy downfield, full stride here. He doesn't have to stop. Mooney doesn't have to stop at all. Full stride, hits him in it. 64 yards later, it's a big time play.
What I love about this too, Danny, as you pointed out in last week's show, where you looked at the tape of the Bears versus the Cleveland Browns, he missed Darnell Mooney wide open on that pass interference call. The pass interference was called on the defender who was guarding Allen Robinson. So it still ended up being a big gain, but he missed Darnell Mooney over the middle. And in this play here, he had choices. Right, he had that choice of I think it's A-Rob over the middle and the tight ends, but he chose the right guy.
And the one thing with Fields, when you study his tape, he's always looking big play first. He's always looking downfield, and then he comes down. So typically, we're younger quarterbacks, they go check down to downfield, and I think Trubisky was that way. Trubisky would always look short to intermediate before he looked deep. This kid is opposite. He looks deep first, and then he comes down if he has to. He's always looking to make the big play.
Mm-hmm. Great stuff. We'll move on now to our third play and the selection. And this is the pass to A-Rob for 28 yards. Again, we start with the broadcast copy.
Right. Again, under center, play action, sucks up to the second level of defense. It's a 2-man concept. Actually, it's a 2-man route, but then the running back sneaks out into the field, so it becomes a 3-man route. But I want you to pay attention here in terms of when he releases that ball. So again, Fields is comfortable, guys, with play action, turning his back to the defense, and then turning around and seeing what's happening in front of him. Typically, with these young quarterbacks, they've played in shotgun throughout their Pee Wee leagues, throughout the high school, throughout college, and they're more comfortable in shotgun. But it looks like Fields has that ability to be able to run these kind of plays, and that's a great sign, especially early on. You play action, turns his back, turns around, sees him, and then on the other copy, we'll see where A-Rob's at the top of his route. He's stemming his route, and the ball is already on its way. So he's already throwing A-Rob away from coverage. He's throwing to a spot, throwing him open. And this is what I love to see about quarterbacks, especially young quarterbacks. This is what you need to do. NFL type throws are you're throwing your receiver open. You're throwing him to a spot. And again, we'll see it here. A-Rob at the top of his route. He's ready to stem his route, and the ball is already on its way to A-Rob right there. Yep. So he knows where he's going with the ball, makes a read. Perfect read right there, and perfect throw.
Hey, Danny, I highlighted the three because and help me out here. You're the expert. I highlighted what looks to me like a cover 3 defense. Is that the case here? And if so, what can you say about him reading that and how he diagnoses? You'll see the circles on the three guys who drop back deep.
Right. So they look like that corner looks like he's playing off-man coverage. And the other two look like, for me, they're playing cover 2 safeties, right? And then what it does a good job here is Damiere Byrd running across and carrying that safety out, and clearing that room for A-Rob to go ahead. And that's why that's the proper read, because if he throws it to Damiere Byrd, he's got a safety that's right behind him, is going to come in, maybe jump the route, maybe take off Damiere Byrd's head. So A-Rob, with that clearing of that safety, he was the right read, the right place, in terms of throwing the ball to him. And it was a easy catch, pitching catch for a 28-yard gain.
And again, the footwork from Justin Fields, just flawless. We'll see it one more time here. Not in this case, no dancing, because he kind of saw everything so clearly, and it all developed so quickly that he didn't need to dance around or anything. But
again, I formation. JP Holt's in there as a lead blocker. He releases out into the flat there. But again, he's play action. He's got protection, 2-man route, nothing fancy, not these 4 or 5-man routes where everything's spread open, and now you have 5 guys trying to block 5 or 6 lines defenders, and now he feels rushed and he's got to get rid of the football quickly and make it drops back, 1, 2, 3, sees his guy, reads the safety being carried away by Demir Bird, throws it to a spot for Allen Robinson. 28 yards later, it's first down.
All right, the next play is the 32-yarder to Darnell Mooney.
This is a play that really excites me. I mean, we this is what I call bucket throw, guys. When I do scouting reports on quarterbacks and I say bucket throws, these are right here. We've seen these throws at the combine. Although you and I have seen them at the Senior Bowl, where they literally set up a bucket and you have these quarterbacks step up from the 30 or 40 yard line and try and drop into the bucket. But the thing I want to highlight here with Justin Fields, and we talked about the Cleveland game, right? We talked about the one time where he took that sack and he had one-on-one coverage on the outside with Marquise Goodwin, and he just held the ball. He didn't throw it up there and let Goodwin go make a play. Before we run the play here, he's looking at the pre-snap coverage, right? He's got two safeties there, looking like they're playing cover two, split safety coverage. Now, post-snap, if one of that safeties hovers over towards Darnell Mooney, he's probably not going to do it. But look what happens to the safety. Safety starts drifting back inside towards the middle, inside the hash mark. Why is that? Because Justin Fields is eyeing that safety. Justin Fields froze that safety with his eyes. He's looking at Jimmy Graham running that middle crossing route. That safety stops there, goes towards the middle because he thinks it might be going to Jimmy Graham. Now he knows he's got one-on-one coverage on the outside to Darnell Mooney and throws it up there. He doesn't hesitate. He knows he's got one-on-one coverage, puts it in a spot where only Darnell Mooney can make it, over his shoulder, towards a boundary, perfect location, ball placement, hell of a throw. These are NFL-type throws, guys. When you see a quarterback do those in a second career start, that is something to get excited about.
I love it. It is so beautiful to see. The promise that Justin Fields is setting with these types of plays is just it's so awesome to see.
Right, because when you look at that play, you're like, all right, why did the safety drift in the middle? Then you take a look at Fields and you see him eyeing Jimmy Graham. You see him just kind of staring at Jimmy Graham. The safety now is playing Justin Fields' eyes. He's going to kind of drift into the middle. Now Fields knows he's got one-on-one outside with Darnell Mooney and puts it in a perfect location.
There you go. All right, we move on now to the play to A-Rob for 27 yards.
Again, we're talking about under center play action, sucking up that second level of defense. The Lions look like they're playing zone. The corner got his back turned to Fields, and he puts it at the only spot, the only location where he could do it. And he throws it to the outside boundary where only Allen Robinson can make that play. And this is a 27-yard completion here.
Right.
But if you look at the field version or the all 22 version,
coming up,
Allen Robinson is outside the numbers when Fields throws his ball. So take a look at that. Allen Robinson is outside the numbers, and right there, boom, Fields throws the ball. So he leads them again, puts it to a spot on the boundary, accuracy, ball placement, leading his receiver away from coverage, what I call throwing a receiver open, bam, on the sideline, perfect throw. Hell of a throw right there.
Yeah, I on the Bear Debate show, I picked out all of Fields' explosive plays. And asked Tyler Ellis and John Buffon which was their favorite. And to me, this one is the favorite because just the fact that he threads it in between those two defenders, it's a thing of beauty.
Yeah, some say, oh, if the defender turns around, he could pick it off. Well, no, because Fields read it. He saw the guy had his back to him. He knows he had to throw it to the only spot where only A-Rob can get to it. Even if the defender turns around, he's got to find it, and he's got to have to make a hell of a play to get to that football. So I think this was a hell of a throw, NFL-type throw. These are things that we expect to see quarterbacks make, week in, week out, every single Sunday. And again, Fields showing this only in second start is very promising. Now I just expect him to continue to get better and better and build off of this game. And now we should start seeing these on a more consistent and more regular basis with him.
Nick, yes, we do have that play. It is coming up. He asked if we have that incomplete pass to Kmet. All right, we move on now to our order of plays, and it is indeed the very same play that he was talking about. I believe this is the one, the incomplete pass in the end zone.
Yeah, so this is the one I gave him a red mark on this one. So this for me, I didn't like, right? Because I feel like he zeroed in on Kmet pre-snap, and that's where he was going to go with the ball. First of all, look what's going on here. Guys, 5-man protection. He's in the shotgun. So and now the line's blitzing. So now he's got a little bit deja vu, right? He's got some Browns effects here. He's got some extra good defenders coming. He's only got 5-man protection. He's got 5 guys going on the route. So I think he just kind of sit there and say, I'm going to go with Kmet size and see what he does in the end zone. Even if it's picked off, it's in the end zone. But what he does, it's just a 3rd and 7 play. So if he had time to go ahead and go through his progression, or if he didn't kind of, make a predetermined throw here, Allen
Mhm.
Robinson's wide open in the middle there. And he could have probably caught it, maybe turn the other shoulder and got up and got the first down. At least would have got you closer to the field goal here. So this is a play that I marked as a negative play for Fields. This is something that it could be a teaching moment where John DeFilippo or Bill Lazor can sit down with him and say, hey, you know what? We understand you feel a little rush here. There's a blitz coming, but try and go through a progression here. See if you can maybe buy some more time with your feet, kind of trying to elude the blitzer, see what you can do here. But yeah, Allen Robinson coming wide open there is a big miss for me.
Our man Laro Golden, who has done a lot of coaching of players in his life, asked this question: Danny, do you see the confidence that he shows on the field with his body language? He just seems confident no matter the play call.
Right. And that's the thing is, like, even with the interception, he just went back there and just knew we're going to take a look at it here, but he knew he had it. If just the linebacker made a hell of a play to get his hand on the ball, but he didn't fret over it. Like I said, this guy's got that demeanor where if he throws 3 interceptions or he throws 3 touchdowns, you would not know the difference. He's got the same calm demeanor. Yeah, his teammates love him. His teammates kind of galvanize around him. So that they want to see a leader that doesn't get too high or too low. You want to have that nice, cool, even medium kind of a leadership quality about him. And Fields so far has shown that ability both at Ohio State and for me, at least early on here with the Bears too. So, there are times where he makes mistakes and you see DeFilippo coaching him on the sidelines and he says, I got it. And that's the thing with Fields I've seen studying him at Ohio State so far, looking at him here with the Bears is, he makes a mistake once. Typically you teach him, he doesn't make it again. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a guy he learns, he takes coaching, he accepts coaching. We talked about that one-on-one play with the Browns where he didn't give Marquise Goodwin a chance to make a play when he had one-on-one coverage. The same thing happened here with Darnell Mooney, and he gave Mooney the throw. He didn't hesitate. He knew he was going to go with him. And in the NFL, when you have one-on-one coverage and outside with no safety help, especially if you have a talented receiver, you give that playmaker a chance to go up to make a play on the football. And he didn't do it in Cleveland, but he did it here versus Detroit.
All right, here's another blemish in Fields' performance. Talk to us about this interception.
Right. So really, it's not a blemish for me, at least, because I think he makes the right read. If the linebacker doesn't make a great play, really gets his hand on the ball at the last minute, kind of get his hand in that passing lane, it's a big time play for Mooney. Mooney catches that ball, and that could be a 20, 30, maybe even a touchdown. So I think it's a right read. The guy was wide open. The only thing is the he didn't probably see a linebacker come in the last minute, and he just kind of got his hand up in the passing lane and tipped that ball. But if that ball wasn't tipped, guys, that's probably another 15, 20-yard catch, maybe even a touchdown. That's how wide open Mooney was. The only other thing was Kmet was open there in the flat. It was a 3rd and 4 play. So, maybe you could have gone there. But again, Mooney was open. It's not like Mooney wasn't, was covered and he tried to fit it into a tight window. It was a wide open player. It's just that to me, the linebacker made a great play.
Let me ask you a question, Danny. Number 8, Damian Williams, the running back here, is pass blocking. Should he have come out maybe a step or two to pick up that linebacker?
Yeah, he should have come out a little bit. And also, remember last week we were kind of chastising Jason Peters for cut blocking Myles Garrett when it was a 3rd and 14 and what he's doing that for. This is an area where you could have probably cut block that linebacker, make sure you knock him down just for the sole purpose he doesn't do what he just did. Put his hand up in the passing lane, tip the ball, and cause a turnover. So that's another thing here. You see a lot of running backs come out and they meet them, or they go and they come on, they cut their feet out from underneath them and chop them down. So that way they don't get into the passing lane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. I when I saw the end zone camera and saw that Williams was just kind of sitting back and not being aggressive with the block, I wanted to get your clarification whether he was doing the right thing or not.
Yeah, all right, he should have come out more often. He should have met the linebacker, because the more you let the defender closer to the line of scrimmage, the more things like that could happen. He can get up in his hands up in the air, block up, bat a ball up in the air. He can just swing right by you and get. Now he's closer to the quarterback, so you should always come out and meet him, especially in the hole.
Yeah. All right. Now, this is the spin move by Fields to escape pressure.
Right. This is the thing we keep talking about. What Fields gives them that Dalton doesn't give them. Right. Look at that. Clear rusher on him, coming towards him, does a nice ability to go ahead and spin. And what the thing about Fields I love is he'll break contain, but he doesn't just tuck it and run. He's always got his eyes downfield. So if you're a receiver, you got to know, you got to break your pattern. It's called a fire drill. You got to run away, get open, give your quarterback an option to throw the ball to. Here, he just threw a ball in an area where Cole Kmet, in my opinion, if he kept his feet, and he probably should have kept his feet because I don't think that the defender pushed him.
Yeah.
Kind of tracks back there, makes the play, makes the catch. Now, could the ball be thrown a little bit better, maybe a little bit closer to Kmet? Sure. But he's on a dead run, throws it in his vicinity where Kmet, is a guy, big guy, long arms, has a nice catch radius, should be able to go ahead and contour and make a catch on or make a play on the football. But then just loses his balance, loses his feet, and falls down. So to me, that's on Kmet. That's a positive check mark for Fields for continuing to play, eluding pressure, and giving his offense a chance to make a big play downfield. And again, that's what I keep stressing. This kid can not only do that, but he won't even just automatically tuck it and run. He'll always continue to look downfield, try to make a big play.
Yeah, it was a good decision, I think, by Fields there to make that back shoulder throw, but it also would have been a really heroic catch by Kmet, just because, it was a back shoulder throw, so he had to make that turn. But you're right, it's more on Kmet than Justin Fields, absolutely. Now, what do you think about what the factor says here? He says Jesse James and Horstad would have probably made that catch.
I don't know. We don't know. I mean, Kmet's a pretty good athlete. Actually, Kmet, I was going to do a segment on his blocks in this game. He was a pretty physical blocker in this game. There was a couple of pancake blocks that I saw him make. So at least his blocking is continuing to get better as an inline wide tight end. But yeah, I think Jesse James might be a little bit taller than Kmet. He's probably 6'7", maybe a little bit even more athletic than Kmet. But we don't know. I just think for me, he's a guy that he's athletic enough to be able to go ahead and keep his feet, keep his balance, and try and make a play on that football. Just to kind of flop and lose your balance, lose your feet, and fall down, then get up and try and ask for a flag. To me, it was a little bit, I don't know. I like to see a little bit better effort for him to try and go after that football and make a play there.
Danny, I'm glad that you brought up Cole Kmet's blocking, because there was somebody on Twitter, and I apologize again that I don't recall the gentleman's exact name, but he put up screen grabs of Cole Kmet's first series and the blocking that he had. And so I just selected a few plays from that first series to see, Cole Kmet and his blocking. I believe on this one, he's playing the right tight end position.
Yeah, there you go. 1-on-1. Does a nice job of just maintaining that linebacker, maintaining his block there, arching his back. We call that arching your back and planting your feet to be able to just maintain that block. But there are other ones that maybe you have him here too, but he's playing nasty. He's driving guys into the ground, which I love seeing that in my blockers. Again, does a nice job there maintaining his block there. Last week we talked about, we kind of, made fun of it. Why would you line up Cole Kmet 1-on-1 versus Myles Garrett? That's a mismatch, right? Against the Lions guys, he looks like he can handle these guys. These are not all world defensive ends that are getting paid $100 million, contract wise to make, plays in the NFL. So, against these guys, maybe this is what gave Nagy and them a false confidence to be able to put Cole Kmet 1-on-1 versus Myles Garrett. To me, he might look good against the Lions 1-on-1. I would not never line him up against Myles Garrett 1-on-1. Just that's me personally. But yeah, these are some nice pass blocking. There's another one on David Montgomery run where he does a nice job of coming from the right to the left, and he chops and cuts down the backside pursuit. And Montgomery allows then the offensive line to go and flow. He does a nice job of finding the backside hole and gets up there. But if it wasn't for Kmet's backside block, that defender would have just, flattened down a line of scrimmage and taken Montgomery down for no gain or probably a loss on the play. But because of that ability to block that guy, he allowed then Montgomery to go ahead and find that backside block and be able to hit upfield for, I think it was an 8 or 9 yard gain there too. So things like that with Cole Kmet, you see the improvement, you see him getting better. So again, he was probably the highest rated inline, what we call Y tight end. And I think that part of his game is getting better. I just want to see him now make more plays in the passing field, in a passing game, I should say. And hopefully with Justin Fields in there, both him and Jimmy Graham, the $9 million tight end or $7 million tight end, will start making some plays, hopefully in the red zone as well.
And one of the things that I noticed looking back at the game was that his number is not being called as the primary target very often. Most of his plays when he goes out on pass patterns are safety valve plays. And there's only like 2 or 3 times that I detected anyway that he was either the primary receiver and maybe not even the primary receiver. Like that one throw that you just highlighted, that the back shoulder throw, he may not have even been the primary receiver there.
No, that was just a Fields making a play, escaping pressure, and just trying to make a play downfield. And again, Kmet, well, actually, I think he might have broken off his route when he saw Fields break containment and then trying to come back and make himself available. Again, they call it a fire drill. If you see a quarterback break containment and he's rolling to a side, you stop your route, you start rolling to that side, and just come up and make yourself available for that quarterback. And I think that's what basically happened there. So yeah, he just breaks it out because he breaks his contain, goes out, and then just throws out there because he sees Kmet there and just trying to make a play there. So, but yeah, I don't think it was a primary option there. So we'll see here. He's running here, and then he sees it break contain. Now he continues to run across. And now this is where he could have probably just stopped and kind of come forward for, give him a bigger target or whatnot. But it's something that hopefully they can kind of shore that up as they get more reps together. But yeah, I mean, if once Kmet gets more involved in the passing game, starts making a bigger impact there, now I think you're going to see, guys, that the total package that he was built as when he coming out of the draft is a guy that can block in line and also be a pass catching threat as well. So I know a lot of guys would comp them to like a Travis Kelce. He was never that for me. He was more of a Kyle Rudolph guy, the guy with the Vikings, who today is with the Giants, but a guy who can block in line. Another Notre Dame tight end, a guy who can block in line, who can make big plays down in the passing game, more so in the red zone, utilizing that size, that catch radius, the ability to stretch outside your frame and really the football. So that's who I saw him more. That's who I comped him more as. So if he turns into a Kyle Rudolph, who's been an 8, 9, 10-year tight end in the NFL, a successful one, and been to a couple Pro Bowls, I think it'll be a nice second round pick for Ryan Pace.
Yeah, somebody was saying the other day he was compared to Kittle coming out of college. I was like, no, he was never that guy.
He's never that guy. No,
yeah.
No, he was more of a Kyle Rudolph.
Right. We talked about this very briefly before the show. Now the Las Vegas Raiders have all this tape from that fine performance against the Detroit Lions. The Bears have to come up with new things to do so they're not trotting out the same schemes and the same plays and make it easy for the Raiders. What do you think is necessary for them to have success on offense versus the Raiders defense?
Well, we saw here, right here, guys, play action, right? Justin Fields under center. The threat of a run is critical here. And it just happened to be the Bears 2 victories. David Montgomery, now unfortunately he's hurt, but David Montgomery has 20 plus carries and had almost 100, over 100 yards in this game, I believe, against the Bengals. He had almost either 100 yards or almost 100 yards in that game as well. So, Montgomery is for me is the focal point of this offense. I think on Sunday we saw, guys, the future of the Bears offense. We saw Montgomery running back. We saw Justin Fields at quarterback, and I think Darnell Mooney a receiver. These are the future, guys at this offense on the offense for the Bears. So continue running the ball. I know Damian Williams, I think, practiced these last couple of days, so hopefully he's a full go. If not, you guys know how much I'm a big fan of Khalil Herbert. I know he's a rookie, so I'll temper my expectations for Khalil Herbert. The Raiders, I believe, are 19th in the league in terms of run defense. So these are guys that can be run at. So my hope here is Bill Lazor continues to do what he does. And we've seen this now from last season when he took over play calling. We saw it this past week. Bill Lazor likes to run the football, guys. He likes to give his running backs an opportunity to run. He likes to give his offensive linemen get sweating and get get engaged with defensive linemen and be the aggressor as opposed to dropping back and kind of taking the hits and the punishment from defensive linemen. So hopefully he continues that. He'll pound Damian Williams. He'll pound Khalil Herbert in there, continue to use play action, and now build off of that, right? Raiders saw this tape. We saw, a 2-3 man route. Now you got to start throwing in some rollouts. Now you got to start throwing in some RPO plays. Now you got to start throwing in some quarterback lead or run plays where he just kind of takes it, has maybe a JP Holtz or a lead blocker in front of him, and he runs around the corner, maybe gets a 5 or 6, 7 yard. Just throw different wrinkles in there just to throw the Raiders off the market. But again, it's got to start with the foundation, which for me is a running passing game. And I think Brandon Staley, the former Bears assistant of Vic Fangio, the current coach of the Chargers, had a great line in terms of why play action is so important. It's so important, especially for a young quarterback. And I think that this is the key. I don't know if you have that keyed up there, Aldo, or not, but the Brandon Staley cut where he was talking about play action, how important that is. And I think
I do. This is so good. Everybody listen very closely to this soundbite from former Bears linebacker coach Brandon Staley.
What I think that the running game does for a quarterback is it gives you some breathers. And, you don't need a good running game to be a good play action team. But what you need the running game for is the physical element of the game. There's a physicality to the game that's real, right? If you're just a passing team, okay, there's a physical element to the game that the defense doesn't have to respect, okay? And that's the truth, okay? Because the data will tell you don't need a run game to play pass. You don't need that. But what the running game does for you, it brings a physical dimension to the football game. And what the running game does that the passing game does not is the running game forces the defense to play blocks and to tackle. That happens on a run play. You must play blocks and you must tackle. In the passing game, those things don't have to happen, right? You don't have to play as many blocks, right? And you may not have to tackle based on incomplete or not. So what the running game does is it really challenges your physicality. And that's why I think the run game is important to a quarterback, is because it's going to allow him literally to have more space to operate when you do throw the football. Okay, it's not that you need the run game to throw it. It's just what it gives the rest of your skill players. And
my goodness, that is gold, pure gold. The physicality of what the run game does is wears out defenses, forces them to tackle, forces them to play physical. And that is just brilliant. He said it so perfectly, Danny. The great soundbite you found there.
And again, this guy, guys, this is a defensive coach here. So this is a guy on defense talking about offense. So that tells you this guy's a really good coach here. But the thing is, we just saw it on the clips here, guys. We just saw on the play action fake that the linebackers and the second level guys were being sucked up because now they're getting ready in case it is a handoff. They got to get on. They got to take on blocks. So they're coming up two, three steps. And what does it do now? That lets Darnell Mooney and guys like Demir Bird get behind them in that green open area there for nice, easy crossing routes, nice plays that quick hitters that get the ball out of the quarterback's hand real quickly, get Justin Fields in a flow of the game there. It just opens up so much. And again, we've talked about this previously when we were getting ready to play the Rams, how the Rams base everything on play action, that they don't necessarily have to have 1,000-yard backs every year in, year out. Just a threat of handing the ball to the running back. And like as Coach Shelley just kind of alluded there, and then the second level guys having to get ready, prepared to take on blocks, to go after that running back, to be a physical run fit in that hole in case the ball is handed off. That got some thinking, that gets them prepared. And next thing you know, now they're running in one direction and there's a guy behind them in the spot they just vacated running free. That guy's probably running a 4.5, 4.4 40 running across. Easy completion, a 5-yard throw turns into a 10, 15-yard play. So I think that is key here. And it all starts with the run game, being committed to the run game. And I think hopefully from what I've seen with Bill Lazor, that's what he's going to do. So now that's your foundation. Continue off of that and now add to it, add different layers to it. We talked about RPOs. We talked about, for me, I would just first play of the game, play action, and I would go deep. I'll throw it deep and just tell the Raiders, hey, we're here to play. No more of this dink and dunk, throwing 5-yard, 10-yard outs. We're going to start challenging guys deep here, see what happens, and that kind of will wake them up a little bit. And especially if you make the completion, it's a big play, gets your team energized. There's going to be a lot of Bears fans in Vegas this weekend, so the crowd's going to get into it. So I think that would be something that I would look for that first play. So we'll see what happens. But again, the foundation is going to be running the ball, at least threatening to run the ball, continue to, like we talked about, I want to see at least 20 rushing attempts, whether it's a combination of Damian Williams and Khalil Herbert, however you do it. I want to see at least 20 rushing attempts, continue to use the play action and continue to simplify the game for Justin Fields and give him opportunities now, roll him out of the pocket, get him away from pressure. Let's see what he can do with his feet a little bit. And again, just continue to add block to block to block until you get this kid fully developed.
There's a lot of talk in the chat room about why doesn't Matt Nagy see these things and so forth. I got a theory on that. Another one of my crazy theories. I believe that Matt Nagy is sort of in between the old guard of coaching in the NFL and the new guard of innovative, smart thinking, like the Brandon Staley's and the Sean Desai's. Somebody put up that Tony, I think it was, put up that he predicts Sean Desai could be the Bears' next head coach to market. And I believe that that is true because he presents Sean Desai and Brandon Staley, who we should have never have lost. These guys represent new, innovative thinking, and they're applying things that the college football game is doing, plus their own innovative approach to football, whereas Matt Nagy is not. Matt Nagy is still part of the Andy Reid, and there's a really interesting column from a week ago by Doug Farrar, Farrar, who's written a brilliant book about innovations in the game of football, and he says that Matt Nagy's offense really isn't an offshoot of Andy Reid. It's more of a Scott Linehan vertical and curl routes offense. And that is just not the proper offense to run in today's NFL. So hopefully Ryan Pace and Bears management will see that these young thinkers like the Brandon Staley's and Sean Desai's are the future of the NFL in terms of coaching, and the Matt Nagy's are the past, unless Matt Nagy starts to listen to these new voices. And even, Bill Lazor, he's been around for a while, but it looks to me like Bill Lazor has made the adaptations. He's adapted to the new game. So that's really important to keep an eye on, in my opinion.
Yeah, Matt Nagy, his whole coaching career, he's been under Andy Reid, right? And Andy Reid came in with that West Coast, Bill Walsh type of offense, and he runs, the passing game, the short passing game is an extension of your running game, so on and so forth. And his whole career has been under Andy Reid. And Andy Reid, actually, he didn't develop his offense into this hybrid spread until the year after Matt Nagy left, because that's when Patrick Mahomes took over. And now you have guys like Mike Kafka, the former Northwestern quarterback, who is now a quarterback coach there, who's a highly regarded coaching prospect. Eric Bieniemy, who came from Colorado, who now he's got a different idea. So that, I think those guys kind of blended with what Reid was doing and now formed a different spread open offense that they see now with the Chiefs. Nagy wasn't there for that. Nagy was there with Alex Smith and some of the typical, drop back quarterbacks like the Nick Foles and some of and Andy Dalton, some like these guys, these guys fit that offense, through that, like you're talking about the West Coast scheme, the comebacks, the curls, so on and so forth, the crossing routes. And he's a guy that just, like you said, has blinders on. This is my offense. This is how I know it's supposed to run. If you do this against this defense, this should be successful. Again, that was an offense about 5, 10, 15 years ago. Now it's all innovative, it's spread, it's hybrid, it's doing things, putting players in position to succeed. The Chiefs don't have really a big, tall receiver, if you will. Their biggest, in terms of stature and physical size is their tight end, Travis Kelce. They use a lot of short, fast guys, and they get them the ball in situations where they can put them with an open field. They can make a guy miss, and next thing you know, it's a 5-yard pass is a 15, 20-yard play. So you just getting players in position to succeed and be the best, taking advantage of their skill set. So, this is something that Reid has gone ahead, and whether it's his coordinators or his coaching staff that's kind of convinced him to, kind of manipulate his offense into this, we see now with the Chiefs. Matt Nagy never saw that. Matt Nagy was always just typical West Coast, old school Andy Reid offense. And he's just someone who just cannot adapt. Even halftime adjustments with Matt Nagy, you can see he doesn't make those. There is no adjustments. And one clip, and I didn't think of it, but I should have probably thought I had to see if you could pull it, was Justin Fields talking about the difference between, it might have been after Sunday's game, the difference between Matt Nagy calling a play into his headset and Bill Lazor. And he said, Coach Lazor is nice.
Hold on a second. Before you say it, I did pull it. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see. He said it on Sunday after the game. And then in his most recent press conference, when he, after he was announced the starter, this is what he said about that. And then we'll come back to you, Danny.
I mean, yeah, he calls plays in practice, so I'm used to hearing his voice anyways. But yeah, pretty much like I said, he doesn't have to worry about the defense. He doesn't have to worry about special teams. He's just up in the box, overlooking the field and stuff like that. So he's definitely in a calmer setting and stuff like that. That's kind of his personality. He's kind of kind of calm and kind of laid back. So I definitely like that about Bill.
Precisely. And how many times have we said the way Matt Nagy calls a play, it just seems like he's picking plays randomly. And while Bill Lazor's up there thinking ahead, thinking, all right, 2 plays ahead, I'm going to set up this play by running this play now. That way, when they see this formation, the defense sees this formation, think, oh, okay, this is going to be a pitch to the right. Next thing you know, it's a fake, and now I got a receiver streaking downfield. So he's got plays set up to set up a bigger play downfield. But Matt Nagy, he always looks like he's always into his my partner Neil calls it a Wendy's menu or a IHOP menu, or whatever. He's like always looking into that, his play sheet, and he's not thinking ahead. He's just picking plays here and there. And that's the thing, is like with Nagy, I think he'd be a better just head coach. Just do the coaching duties. Don't worry about being offensive play caller. Let Bill Lazor, call the plays, and let's see how it goes. But again, I think that was a key soundbite there. Just a calmness about Bill Lazor, just telling him, all right, calling the play, letting him know what's going on, as opposed to Nagy just kind of being all over it and maybe being a little bit jittery. And how many times do we see the play come in late when Nagy's calling the play, and we have to lose a timeout because maybe he doesn't know what he's going to play or which play to pick or formation or whatnot. And I think this is just, it clears everything up now. Nagy can just be a head coach, let Lazor do it. The quarterback, finds a calmness in Bill Lazor's voice. Let's just roll with it and see what happens here.
And he sounds almost resigned to the fact that he is not going to call the plays anymore. And that tells me that perhaps Ryan Pace said, dude, enough evidence is in here to know that Bill Lazor does a better job of calling the plays, because Nagy now has been saying, yeah, I felt really connected to all 3 phases, special teams, defense, and offense, by not calling the plays. It's almost like he's trying to convince himself that the days of play calling for the NFL and the Chicago Bears are over with.
Hopefully, because I told you that was in the offseason when I heard he's taking back play calling, that was a red flag for me right away. I didn't want to see that. I don't want to hear that. And then it took him 3 games and so far to go ahead and rescind that or give away those play calling duties. So hopefully this is going to be the way it is. But he made a point to say that everything runs through him. So don't think he's not involved there. But as long as he's not calling those plays on Sundays, I think he can be involved in the actual game planning and scheming. Of course, he's a head coach. Everything's got to come through him in terms of the game plan and all that stuff. But, just do not call the plays. Let Lazor call the plays, and let's see what happens here.
All right. So this show is dedicated solely to Justin Fields. And then next week, we might highlight a particular player, or we might look at the whole game and so forth. So we're going to go with the flow, depending on what the defense, so to speak, I should say the Raiders-Bears game gives us. Then Danny will come up with the talking points and the tape that he wants to share. I'm going to throw one piece of tape at Danny here that he wasn't expecting, and this is from the broadcast copy. But when I was at the game, that play by Duke Shelley, I thought was a huge play when he made this play on the ball, because it's 14-0. This to me looks like a touchdown if he doesn't, because the tackling by the safeties has been so poor that it's quite possible the receiver would have gone all the way for a touchdown, and just Duke Shelley makes a hell of a play here.
Yeah, this is a great play. Obviously, Hawkinson, bigger body guy, kind of unmuscles him at the line of scrimmage there, gets that inside leverage, and all Shelley can do basically is just use his athletic ability and speed to go ahead and catch up on that play. He's already in a trail position here. Does a great job of just laying out and get that fingertip on that football to go ahead and knock it away. But yeah, I agree. If that's a completion, Hawkinson's a big dude there. He could probably bully over. I think that was Deion Bush coming over there for yes. Safety help there. Mm-hmm. Maybe could have run through Deion Bush, and that could have been a whole different ball game there. So yeah, I agree. That's a play that I did jot down in terms of a great play that by the nickel cornerback there, Duke Shelley.
The other disturbing thing, I should say that one of the disturbing things about that Bears-Lions game is that the Bears allowed Detroit to go downfield and into the red zone on their first 3 possessions. And so you've got, the missed snap by the Frank Ragnow, who is now out for a few weeks. He suffered an injury that game. You've got the 4th and 1 decision as opposed to taking the points. And I forgot what the third stop was. It was a turnover, another turnover.
That was Robert Quinn's strip sack. Yep.
Exactly. And so, a more competent team could have walked away with 14, 17, maybe even 21 points from those 3 series. Now, yeah, I'm not taking anything away from the defense. They deserve credit for making those stops. This is a bend but don't break defense. But at the same time, would they be able to do that against really good offenses that they're going to face down the line? Are you concerned about that?
I am, especially the run defense, because I tweeted out early in the first half, I believe it was, I said, it's disconcerting now that Eddie Goldman's back and they're still able to run the ball down the middle of the Bears defense. And now again, Akeem Hicks was out. So I'll go and go, and it's Goldman's first game back. So we'll see how that's what I said earlier. I'm going to keep an eye on the middle of the defensive line, that run defense there. But the Raiders have a solid offensive line in terms of, up the middle. So we'll see if they can go ahead and have a, pretty good running back in Josh Jacobs, see if they go ahead and take advantage of that. But I'm not sure if Akeem Hicks' status for the game, if he's going to play or not. I forgot. I didn't see a status today on the injury report or the practice report. So, yeah, if Hicks is out, that's going to be another key missing piece there in the middle. So that's something that's concerning me. Now, I must say that the Ogletree played pretty well at middle linebacker in terms of coming in and being a physical run fit defense. Made a nice play on that tip ball. That was a 4th down play in the red zone as well. He tipped the ball for incompletion. So he looks like he's making some plays there as well. But yeah, right now for me, what concerns me on the defense is that run defense up the middle. I'm going to shore that up. Our safety play, we got to shore up the miscommunication. Again, we talked about earlier that the first Khalif Freeman touchdown was a miscommunication between the safeties there. Mm-hmm. And we'll see what happens here in terms of the nickel cornerback. That was it was a good game by Duke Shelley. There were some times he got lost in coverage again, but again, he also came up and made a nice play in the open field, open field tackle as well. Yep. So maybe he's going to get his bearings together there, and he'll kind of maybe play better and take control of that nickel corner position. Mm-hmm. But yeah, for me, it's those are the 3 spots right now that concern me: that middle, that defense, that rush defense, the safety position, and the nickel corner position. Those are the 3 areas there that I want to see shore up.
Danny, I think this is today's injury report. Yes, it is. So Jesse James, Akeem Hicks, JP Holtz, Joel Iyiegbuniwe, Khalil Mack, and David Montgomery did not practice. Khalil Mack, I'm sure he's going to be okay. Well, I shouldn't say that,
right.
But
we hope he's okay.
I speculate. Darnell Mooney was limited. I wouldn't worry too much about that. And the rest of the guys were full. And Andy Dalton looks like he's completely recovered and ready to go. What is probably the best news here is that Damian Williams' quad injury is not an issue, and he'll be ready to rock and roll.
That is a good sign as well. But yeah, I mean, if we'll see tomorrow, if Hicks practices tomorrow and is limited, then maybe he can go out there and at least be a presence in the middle of that defensive line. Mm-hmm. But yeah, with him out missing, that's going to be another big body that's not going to be there, and that's going to concern me.
Mm-hmm. And haven't heard anything about Danny Trevathan, and he wasn't not on this list, so I don't think
he's on IR.
He's on IR, but wasn't he eligible to come off IR
after? Yeah, I believe 3 weeks. Yeah, so that last week would have been his first week of eligible. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about him either, so I'm not sure if it's just not getting in Tariq Cohen as well. So. Obviously, you guys heard the big trade, well, not the big trade, but they made a trade for Jakeem Grant, the speedy punt returner from the Dolphins.
Love that
guy's electric. Guy's got big time playmaking ability. Mm-hmm. Has some issues, I believe, with holding on to the football, and that might be the reason why he was available. But that tells me that Tariq Cohen is not anywhere near being ready, and he could be a guy that might miss. If not most of the season, or not all season, most of the season probably. So. Mm-hmm. I haven't heard that. Did they make a move with that kid Webster? Did they cut him? I haven't seen anything.
Webster is gone now. Yes. My man Laro says, what's going on with Brashard Perriman? Perriman was just brought in as a safety for safety purposes. And I don't mean the position safety, but in case one of those speedy wide receivers like Goodwin goes down, then Perriman can go in there. Let's remember that Perriman did not have a preseason whatsoever. He is basically there for practice squad, scout team stuff. He's only going to be on the 53-man roster if it's an emergency. Would you agree with that, Danny?
Well, I think he's on the 53-man roster. He's just inactive for the first 4 games. So that thing is, whether it's him getting down the offensive plays and or just coming in as being a veteran guy that if someone goes out with an injury that we can bring him in and he can go ahead and fill in there as well. But the one guy that's disappointed me so far, and I was expecting a nice year from him, is Demir Bird. He hasn't really got much action in terms of the offense. So maybe, a guy like Perriman who has good speed, has some size, could be, kind of plugged in there and see what he gives us, maybe another downfield threat. But I'm not ready to give up on Demir Bird. I just was hoping to see a little bit more results from him. Maybe now with the position at quarterback kind of hopefully settled, we can, him and Justin Fields get into a rhythm here. We can see Demir Bird, put us in place. Like I said, last year with a very broken and, one-sided, Patriots offense, he did put up over almost 800 yards and I believe 7 touchdowns last year with the Patriots. So Demir Bird's got some speed, some playmaking ability. So I thought he was going to be a nice big addition to this offense. So only 4 games in, I'm not going to give up on the kid, but that's one guy I want to see him pick up the pace there.
Very good. Danny, anything else you want to add before we close this chapter of Bare Truth?
Other than now, now that knock on wood, health is great. I think now is just the Justin Fields show. Let's see how they go ahead and they build this offense around Justin Fields. Like I talked about earlier, it's got to start up front. It's got to start up with having a consistent commitment to the running game, and now start building from there. Right? You put some nice 2-man, 3-man routes on tape versus the Lions. Now you're going to expand it. Are you going to add some different elements, some different flavor to the offense, just to kind of throw defenses off track there as well? So that's where I'm curious now is Fields' development and how they build this offense around Justin Fields. So I don't think it's going to be a radical change like we saw when the Ravens made the change from Joe Flacco to Lamar Jackson. That was a total. They totally revamped their whole offense. The Ravens, that is. I don't think that's going to happen here with the Bears, but we're going to see some different elements, I think, week in and week out as Fields gets more and more comfortable, with some roll options, some RPOs, him using his legs as a weapon as well. So that's where I'm going to be curious and see how they continue to build this offense and see what happens. And then the next thing I'm looking for is can they go out there in a tough place like Las Vegas versus a pretty good team and get a victory. So that's gonna be a key there to get a nice road victory there. Come back here 3-2 and then face the Packers. So I think it's a big week. This past week for me was a must win. You couldn't go 1-3 and lose your home game versus a winless Lions. So
right.
They got the win. They're 2-2. Now let's see if they can go to Vegas, get a nice big road victory, and then build off of that as well.
Right. And during the course of the season, you've got to win a handful of road games, and this one is there for the picking. Let's before we sign off, let's see what kind of questions people are posing. Steven asks, is there any chance Tariq plays this season? My gut feeling, Danny, is that it's not looking good. They've been very secretive about the additional surgeries that Tariq had. Matt Nagy was asked, has he had more than one surgery? I'd have to check. I don't know. Yes. Just say yes.
Yeah.
But we're going to keep it private. But I'll answer the question. Yes, we're going to keep it private. But yes, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. The trade for Jakeem Grant, I think, kind of tells you about Tariq Cohen there. I think him bringing in Grant, so that he's going to be their permanent punt returner, kickoff returner probably, and that Cohen probably won't play this season.
4,000 Clovers wants to know about your favorite player, Tonga.
We just talked about that middle of the defense being gushed, early on, and Tonga was in there, and I think he only had like a handful of snaps. I think it was only 5 or 7 snaps in the entire game. So, the more these guys come back healthier, these defense, other linemen, the Goldmans, the Hicks, I think will lessen see of Tonga. But again, I don't want to pick on the kid. That kid's got a big body guy tries hard. But he's just a guy that's got to be developed. He's not a guy that you could throw out there in the middle of the defense, expecting to be a guy that can eat up blocks and stuff to run. So definitely a guy like
either Danny, what you just said is that he needs development time, right. And because of the Eddie Goldman absence after a couple of games and during the first couple of games of the season, first 3 games of the season, and Akeem Hicks inavailability because of his groin, he's been forced into action and
early on.
It hasn't been terrible, but yeah, you're right. He would have probably really benefited from almost a red shirt season.
Right. Just get him in there, get him, to work on his technique, get him stronger, get him more stout at the point of attack. And I just think for a guy that big, that's supposed to be, stout, he gets bullied way too often by just one blocker and much less, double team. So for me, again, he's not a guy I'm saying cut or he's a wasted pick. I'm just saying a guy who needs some more development, a guy that's not ready right now to be, thrown in there. But again, like you said, he's been done because of a need for a body there because of the injuries. But again, how many drafts now? There's 2 or 3 now. I've said the Bears need to draft some interior linemen, bring in guys that can help, for back up Eddie Goldman. And, they just left that position kind of bare in there in terms of the draft. They bring in, veteran guys for on 1-year contracts here and there. Angelo Blackson has been a pretty good pickup here, but they don't move him inside a lot in terms of nose guard. They leave him at the 5 technique. So curious to see why they're not moving him inside and see if he can take some reps when Eddie Goldman's not in the game. But he's been a veteran guy they picked up here. But again, Tonga, a guy it's got to get bigger, got to get stronger. Work on his technique. Again, got to get more stout, more of a developmental guy than a guy that I trust out there in the middle of the defense.
Tony the Pod Boss, hit me up on DM and help me understand what Twitter Space is. I can do my research, but you bring up an interesting question there. So hit me up on DM and let me know more about that. Bruce Ollie Walter Jordan says this game will be fun. Tony also wants to know, what do you make of Fields' ability to get the ball out quick? Will this be an issue long term?
I don't think it's an issue, Tony. I think I know he's been knocked for a somewhat of a elongated release. I think when he wants to get the ball out quick, he gets the ball out really quick. And we saw a couple of times that throw that was actually intercepted. It was a pretty good release. He made a quick decision, and then the linebacker, like I said, made a great play, get his hand on the ball and tip it up. But he's been able to get rid of the ball, quick if he needs to. The thing with quarterbacks typically is if it's working, even if it's not perfect, if it's working, don't mess with it. So until it becomes a real big problem, like I said, right now I don't see it as a problem. But until then, I don't think they're gonna mess with his motion or his mechanics, because then that might mess up his feet, and then Aldo would be upset. He likes his feet in the pocket.
That's right. The factor says, is the Raiders' defensive line talented enough to give the Bears' offensive line the same trouble that the Browns did?
Well, they got a guy in Max Crosby, a 4th-round pick, and he's a guy that actually has outplayed the 4th overall pick in the draft, Cleveland Farrell, who was a 1st-round pick, and he's now a guy that screams off the edge, and he's a guy that's all hustle. Reminds me a lot of a Jared Allen, a younger Jared Allen, just a physical, no nonsense guy. Doesn't have the great athletic ability and all that, but he plays hard. His motor never stops, and he's a guy that's got long arms, length, and does a nice job of bending the edge. And he's going to give Jason Peters a hard time, or even a Fetty if he gets matched up against a Fetty too. So keep an eye on Max Crosby, number 98. He guy's going to be all over the field. They got some bigger body defensive linemen inside. So these are guys that are strong at the point of attack. So our offensive line, who has had some problems, getting blown off the football, are going to have to maintain their feet and maintain their position. Again, just to give the running backs a crease, a lane to go ahead and get up into that second level of the defense. So, but like I said, they are coming into the game. They are 19th or 18th versus the run. So hopefully you can establish a running attack, a rushing attack versus them, and then now use that play action and use Fields and his ability to get the ball downfield. So we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, Max Crosby is a guy to keep an eye on, and also Nick Kwiatkowski, the ex-Bear, their middle linebacker, has been playing well as well. So they have the linebacker Littleton, Corey Littleton, who was a converted, I believe, safety from college into a linebacker. He's a pretty quick, shifty guy at linebacker, so he's got some speed there too. So they got some playmakers, but they got to keep an eye on is number 98, Max Crosby.
Larry Golden, Laro, who is the co-host of Bulls 101 that you can catch live here on Saturday nights at 11 p.m. Central, and the on-demand version on audio and video is available Sunday morning. It is can't miss Chicago Bulls analysis with Chris Robinson and Laro's great analysis, and they got great interviews too. If you are a Bulls fan, you should be watching the show. And if you're not a Bulls fan, you should be, because there are really nice days ahead. He asked a double question. Is there anything that scares you about this Raiders defense? Also, how good has Jalen Johnson been?
Yeah, and again, Raider defense, really the only thing that scares me is Max Crosby. I mean, he's a guy that can give you a ton of headaches off that edge there. Their secondary has been shaky at best. They've had some first round picks there at cornerback that haven't really panned out so far. Trayvon McMullen is one of them. Damien Arnett, I think he got hurt last week, and Jonathan Abram is a big hitting safety, but he's more of a physical guy. But he's a guy that can get beat in coverage. Trayvon Moore, their second round pick out of TCU, is a rookie, exciting prospect, undersized safety, but he's more of like a ball hog, a guy who can come in and make some plays. So he's a guy that can keep an eye on. But again, he's a rookie. But again, the guy that really concerns me, if you can maintain or keep Max Crosby off of Justin Fields, I think you're going to have a pretty good chance there. And like I said, I think the receivers are going to be able to take advantage of their cornerbacks as long as you give Fields some time in the pocket to make plays. In terms of Jalen Johnson, man, I've been impressed. Like I said, after week one, I think this guy's turning into a number one corner and right before our eyes. He's a guy that so far I've noticed that they're not making him follow the number one receivers. They're keeping him to one side right now, maybe just until he gets his, fully established, and then they're going to start having him follow the top receivers from side to side. But yeah, I mean, he's been playing very well. And we talked about earlier, Aldo's guy, my guy, Kendall Vilder, I think he's been holding up his own there on the opposite side there. So they had a couple flags versus the Browns in the Browns game. There were a couple times they were just beaten by terrific back shoulder throws by Odell Beckham Jr. Or to Odell Beckham Jr. So I just other than that, these guys haven't really been on my TV screen in terms of getting in trouble or getting beaten. So that to me is a good sign. I think both those guys are a positive sign. I could talk about earlier, the safety position has really kind of disappointed me in terms of their miscommunications, them not being in positions to make plays, or them not making plays. We talked about the first game of the season with the missed tackles at safety. So I think if we can shore up the safety position, get that secure there with maybe Tashawn Gibson coming back, hopefully, I think what he gives us as a run defender is more than Deion Bush. But I think Bush is probably better in coverage. But with that blown coverage assignment he had this past week, you kind of now think twice about saying that. So, but yeah, safety is an area that I think has really concerned me a little bit. But the corners, man, Jalen Johnson is doing great, and I think Kildare Vindo is right there behind him. And if Duke Shelley builds off of this game, Aldo just played some of the highlights with him making that great play against Hawkins. If he builds his confidence there and he gets better, we can show up that nickel cornerback position. That'd be nice as well. And another thing was apparently the Bears were in talks with the Patriots about Stephon Gilmore. There was some communication there, but I'm not sure where it broke down, what they were offering, what they didn't offer. I'm not even sure, but I saw a report on Twitter that Gilmore was disappointed the Bears weren't more aggressive in pursuit of him, because I remember he was going to sign with the Bears as a free agent. Remember the rumors were he was going to come to the Bears, and all of a sudden New England blew him out of the water with their offer and surprised the Bears, and they plucked him as a free agent. So maybe he was trying to come back here. Now that would have been a nice addition, because you bring Gilmore in. I know he's missed the most season because of a quad injury, but I think that was more a contract play. But you bring Gilmore in opposite Johnson. Now you move Vilder to nickel corner. Now you're shoring up your cornerback position there too. So, but unfortunately that didn't work out. That he ended up going to the Carolina Panthers for a 2023 6th round pick. So I'm not sure what the Bears were offering to give up. I'm not sure. Another thing with stipulation with him was he wanted a contract extension. So maybe that could have been the holdup there, where the Bears said, we're not going to give you a contract extension because they already have cap issues as it is.
Right.
Maybe that might have been the other factor there with the Gilmore.
Yeah, we'd love you, Stephen, for a 1-year deal, but yeah, long term, that's too complicated. Stephen asks, what do you think about the Raiders defensive end Carl Nassib?
Yeah, he's more of a defensive, honestly, I say handle our tight end. So I'm not sure what he means by that, but he's a guy that's going to be hand in the ground defensive end. He's an active body. He's a guy that's got some length, some size. Comes off the edge, but he's more of a pass rushing kind of guy. He's not a guy that's going to be I don't even know if he's a full-time starter, to be honest with you, with the Raiders. I think he might be a part-time guy, but definitely a guy is, has made some plays in terms as a pass rusher. Was with the Buccaneers, had a solid season one year. I think he had 8 sacks for a career high with the Buccaneers, and ended up parlaying that into a contract with the Raiders. So another guy you have to pay attention to, but definitely the guy that draws my attention all the time is going to be Max Crosby.
Hey, I got to give out a shout out to King Pookie Nation Alvarez. He has been a regular on most of our shows. He's a great guy. He came out and met with Dan Aguirre and myself on last Saturday when Dan was in town. Here's a quick look at my man. Oh, I can't play the video. Darn it. It says the browser's having trouble. But next time, King Pookie, I'll play your video asking. He tried to stump Dan Aguirre some trivia questions, and it's almost impossible to stump Dan Aguirre. He's got a photographic memory about everything Chicago Bears from about the late 70s on. And part of it I've learned is because he watches these games over and over and over again. And so that's why he can have this incredible recall about who was on the roster, who was the backup center in 1983. He remembers so much. It's incredible. But again, a shout out to King Pookie Nation.
I saw the Dan brought the guns out on Sunday with the tank top.
Yeah, that was not a pretty sight. I give my man Dan shit. He's a great guy, and if you have not seen Dan and Aldo Bear Their Souls, Dan and I have some potty humor while we talk Bears movies and Dan's sex life. So
there you go.
You want to talk about your sex life before we go, Danny?
No, I'm good. Yeah, I think one Dan sex life in your life is enough.
Yeah, good call. All right, Danny, we will be back here on Thursday to look at the Raiders and Bears. And again, Danny will determine the storyline that we'll focus on. And also Bear football. Remember, that's immediately after the game. And Danny, I got to talk to you after the show because I need your presence on some upcoming Bear football shows. And also the Barfly Tailgate show. They will get you ready on Sunday morning. The guys have some really cool stuff planned for us on Sunday morning. So that's it, Danny. Say goodbye to your fans.
Bye, fans.